now moving into a very historical time, and only time will tell what's going to happen. But we're moving into a very historical time, a time where a culture is trying to shift from capitalism to socialism. A thing that has been tried in many other nations, and it always produced nations of beggars. I have been to these nations. But even prior to this shift that we are now in, we have been conditioned by the marketers of America with almost every product that is sold to shrink into a small box where everything is about me and my needs and my wants and what makes my life better than it is right now. And there are catchphrases like, "You deserve this," when in fact, you and I deserve nothing. Nothing. What we have is a grace gift from every breath we take all the way to eternity and everything in between. We are conditioned to receive, to receive, to receive, to take, and to receive. We are discipled into that. My generation, the baby boomers, I barely made it. I was right on the line. But I am clinically and officially a baby boomer. The baby boomers, we didn't really step into adulthood until the 80s, those of us at the very end. Others became adults in the 60s and the 70s. Those on the very, very end, like me, did not become adults till in the 80s. But we were conditioned through what was going on in the 60s and the 70s, wherever all of a sudden there was this great rebellion against everything. Anything that was organized or structured in life, there was a great rebellion towards it, and everything was about me, and it was everything from burning military cards, draft cards, to burning bras and all in between. Man, baby, we wanted our freedom. Just let it all hang out. It was a period of free love and anti-establishment. And my generation got a new catchline that now records us in history. We are called the me generation. The me generation. How many's ever heard that before? The me generation. We move from that generation to a next generation, and we've got Gen Xers and all kinds of people out there, and everyone's got their taglines, but now we have the great generation that is rising up to be the dominant generation, following us and taking the reins, and they are called millennials. And guess what the history books are already calling the millennial generation? The me generation. It's like in rock opera, isn't it? Me. Well, what do you expect? We take after our parents and our grandparents. We are conditioned over time. And there's never a cutoff when humanity withdraws and shrinks into a me attitude. It's all about me and my rights and my comforts and my quality of life. When we shrink into that, it just gets worse generation after generation until it just finally just implodes or explodes. And so that's what we see in American culture. We see a bunch of spoiled babies in America. And we act and we react and we throw temper tantrums and we want everything our way. And if you don't get it our way, we'll do everything from burn and tear down private property, making a point, to storming capitals, to whatever we need to do because we're trying to make our point because we know. If you don't believe me, just ask me. I know about everything. But it's all a product of a culture that has been conditioned over time to be very self-involved, very me-oriented. The problem is now for us as Christians, the followers of Christ, we follow a leader, the king of an upside-down kingdom, who presents life very radically opposite to how we are conditioned as American citizens. He says things like, if you want to find life and life abundant, you have to lose your life. not look for your life, not spend all your time and your energy trying to satisfy your life, not trying to gather around you all the comforts known to mankind, not trying to improve your life. If you want to find life, you have to lose your life. He said, in fact, if you want life, you have to learn to give your life away. The Bible is a blueprint, an invitation, if you will, to just that. Story after story after story, whether it's Old Testament, New Testament, every story somehow revolves around God and somebody, where God is extending the invitation to somebody to get out of their little bitty box and find a life bigger than themselves, a life that requires sacrifice, a life that is very much an undetermined adventure in the natural, not sure where this is going to go. Prophets who were persecuted because of getting out of their box. A Christ who was crucified for setting the example of here's what it's like if you live a life bigger than yourself. Today, though, we have a book called the Bible, and it revolves around the stories of God, where God said, let me tell you about just a handful of people in human history. And what do they have in common? They accepted the invitation to get out of their tiny boxes where everything was about them and satisfying their needs. And they stepped out into a world much bigger than themselves, and they gave their lives away. And now today, many, many, many generations later, we are talking about them because they left their fingerprints all over the earth.